We had a good time. We started training already. Boys are in a good shape. Let's see how they can do.
Here's Brewster, opens it up lovely there on that far-hand side from Nathaniel Klein. And then to the back post, there's a really good header from Ryan Brewster. Good save, Brewster should finish it off. And Ryan Brewster helps himself to 2. It's a really nice cross and a lovely finish from Curtis Jones. Absolutely exquisite control from Divock Origi, and it's the goal of the night. This is a real big opportunity now for Bobby Duncan. A long time coming.
The European champions dusted off the cobwebs in some style at Prenton Park on Thursday night. 6 goals. We're becoming quite familiar with that number, aren't we? Today, before they head stateside, the slightly shorter trip across the Pennines to Bradford. Yeah, we're at Valley Parade this Sunday afternoon for Bradford City of League 2 against Liverpool. It is game number 2 of the 7-match pre-season programme. Of course, you can watch all the action live and exclusive on LFC TV and on the move on LFC TV GO. If you're watching on social media, details of how to sign up are available on the website right now. Very good afternoon to you. Welcome along to West Yorkshire. It is Bradford, it is Liverpool. 2 clubs linked by one man, Stephen Darby, a former Reds Academy and first team player and a former captain here at Valley Parade. And today is all about raising funds for the Derby Rimmer MND Foundation after Stephen very sadly was forced to retire after being diagnosed with motor neurone disease last season. We'll speak about Stephen throughout the course of the next 45 minutes or so in the company of the Blackpool and former Liverpool midfielder Jay Spearing and Stephen Warnock, who was loved by both sets of fans. Is that fair to say?
Well, you told me differently before the show, Rob.
Off air, but I'm trying to be nice this season, Stephen. We will talk about the football and the pre-season action a little bit later on, Jay, but you know Stephen Darby very, very well indeed. What an occasion for him. I know he is glowing with excitement, with pride about what's been put on today for his foundation.
Yeah, I think for the last couple of days it's really hit home of what was happening, the support that he's had throughout from the moment he came out with his diagnosis and told the footballing world that what he had, the support and the messages that he received were outstanding, and this game sums the real feeling that people have towards him, and hopefully it can kick on a really successful foundation for him.
As a close friend, Jay, can you give me a bit of a sense of how you were emotionally when Stephen first told you about the diagnosis?
The first little inklings we had, maybe talking on probably 2 years ago now, we give it we brushed it off a little bit with a bit of banter, had a few jokes and that, but then after a couple of weeks he said it was getting a little bit more serious. We then sat down as a group of friends and said, listen, we think we need to ask your club doctor maybe to get a few tests, and as a family with Steph as well, he wanted to check, and first signs, there was not much in it. We had first tests and there was nothing came back, everything came back negative. So he was positive, and then, I say 6 months ago or so now, we got the phone call to say, listen, I've been diagnosed with motor neurone disease, and I'll always remember that phone call. It was a difficult one. I broke down on the phone, and he was the one telling me, listen, mate, everything's going to be all right, and that sums him up. The care that he has for other people instead of himself, and this whole foundation is set up for him to go and help other people, and he's concentrating on helping people instead of himself, but obviously he is looking after himself as well. But you know, he's an unbelievable guy, and he deserves what's happening today.
Stephen, as fans, we watch you guys on the pitch, and you're our heroes, you're our superheroes, and does it hit home when you're a player or an ex-player that these sorts of illnesses, they can happen to anyone, and you guys, you aren't immune to that sort of thing?
Yeah, I said it the other day. I've been very unfortunate in the fact that I've been in a dressing room with Stilian Petrov when he was diagnosed with an illness, and then obviously Darbs, who's close to us because of Liverpool. And it's not a nice feeling. Everyone thinks because you're so fit and healthy that it'll never happen to you. You look at Fernando Rickson at Rangers and the illness that he had. It does happen in sports. It's more highlighted when sportsmen do get it because of the stature within the game that they have and the messages that they can get out. So Darbs has got to use his name, he's got to use the power that he has in social media and things like that to try and promote the charity, to try and get his message across.
we're delighted to say we'll be joined by Stephen before kick-off this afternoon to have a chat with him about the foundation and all the work he's doing. But as for today, it is the second pre-season fixture for Liverpool. Let's just have a quick check on the teams, as it was the case against Tranmere on Thursday night. 2 teams for the 2 sets of 45 minutes. This, the first half team, Simon Mignolet will keep goal for the full 90 today. Back at the heart of that defence for his first game of pre-season is Dejan Lovren alongside Nat Phillips, with Larouci and Klein, the 2 fullbacks. Look at the experience and quality in front of that with Oxlade-Chamberlain, Lallana and Milner, and the front 3 of Wilson, Brewster and Ryan Kent. Into the second half, Simon Mignolet, as you said, will once again keep goal. The youngster Kiana Hoover and the other youngster as well, Adam Lewis, will be the 2 fullbacks. Promise you this graphic's going to appear eventually. There we go, just like magic. Joel Matip and Joe Gomez will be the 2 centre-halves. Fabinho, Woodburn and Curtis Jones in the midfield, with Miller, Origi and Bobby Duncan as front 3. There are 2 substitutes just in case Jurgen Klopp needs them, which are Dan Atherton and George Johnston. Stephen, you watched on at Prenton Park the other night. Who impressed you?
Well, there was plenty of impressive performances. I thought James Milner was superb and sort of dominated everyone, pulled players round, set the tempo in the midfield and made it not like a pre-season game as you expect him to do. But out the youngsters, I thought Harry Wilson was very lively, Brewster brilliant. I mean, just comes to life in the box. But then second half, I asked questions at half time: can the youngsters go on and really stake a claim to Jurgen Klopp and make themselves known? I thought Curtis Jones was excellent, but then the man who did so much damage in the Champions League final, Divock Origi, gets a standing ovation from the fans and delivers as well, so he'll have a big part to play this season as well.
Just want to pick you up on the first man you mentioned there, James Milner. You would have had a pre-season alongside him, but somewhere like that. It must be really annoying when he wins just every pre-season. Come on, James, give someone else a chance, for goodness sake.
And I think all the lads will be feeling the same. You could see Joe Gomez trying his best to keep up with him, and it was almost like, yeah, go on, keep coming and I'll just keep going. But he looks after himself, he sets the standards, and he's a very integral part of this squad, and I think Jurgen Klopp knows how important he is to have around the building.
Just looking at your social media, Jay, over the summer months, I mean, this is the difference to sort of maybe 10, 15 years ago, is that you used to have gone away in May and packed it in for a couple of months and come back on July the 1st. I mean, I saw your videos, you were working hard along with getting that tan.
Yeah. I was waiting for that one to come in. No, listen, as Stephen knows, as you get towards a 30 number, you do have to start looking after yourself a lot more. How quick the game's gone over the last couple of years, you also have to start early. The kids are getting faster, you're not getting any younger, the legs aren't getting any wiser, but you have to keep yourself ticking over and be prepared for a pre-season that you know is going to be tough, and if you can give yourself a little bit of a step and a little bit of help going into them tough weeks, then you'll always help.
As a more experienced player, are you seeing in pre-season games when the young lads come through from the academy, do you pull them and say, look, this is your chance, this could be the moment where the manager thinks, do you know what, I'll have you for the full season up here?
Of course it does, and like you say, they've got nothing to lose. It's a clean slate. Everybody comes in the summer wanting to prove a point and show the manager what they're all about, and even today there's going to be a lot of players on show. They done well in the first game, but it can't just be a one game. They have to go and prove it on a regular basis if they want to be in Klopp's ideas.
Well, as we mentioned, Dejan Lovren is one of the players coming back today after an extended break. 2 more back at Melwood are Andy Robertson and Trent Alexander-Arnold, who are the subject of our poll today. Who is going to end up with more assists in the 2019-20 season? Will it be Trent? Will it be Andy Robertson? Head to Twitter and cast your vote right now. Right now, for us, we're going to hear from the manager, Jurgen Klopp, with Sam Ashu.
Jurgen, if you wouldn't mind by talking us through your first half starting 11, please.
Pretty much the same like the last game, right? Apart from
Dan Lovren comes in.
Yeah. So first half, second half does make a big difference. Of course, it's just because we changed again in the half-time completely. It's only about we have these guys who had a struggle a bit in the past, like Ox, Adams. So we want that they have the proper warming up. That's why they start now in these games. Otherwise, Jill Martin is in rhythm and they all could do it. So there's nothing really to say about. But we didn't want to change too much, to be honest, because there are a lot of games to come still. And but in this moment, we'll just keep a little bit of a rhythm. The little rhythm what is there. Looked really good in the first game. So let them go again, let them fit together. Second half we had to change because of Paul Glatzer, Liam Miller's in for him. So yeah, that's pretty much all.
You mentioned that first game just there. How impressed were you in particular with the young players on Thursday night at Prenton Park?
Actually, I was impressed by all of them because it's a first game, 1 week training. I mean, I didn't have the longest holiday, so the boys were fit, that's clear. But we had intense sessions, and then you cannot really exactly know if it looked like it looked. To be honest, it was a really good game. It was a really good game. I think really Trump was ready to give us a proper fight. They had a good attitude, stuff like that. But we didn't let them really come in the game, and that was all about the boys and the young ones, really. But it's like this. They shouldn't feel any pressure. The test is already passed because they train with us. If they're not good enough, then we made a mistake in the moment when we choose them to train with us. So that test is passed, and now they have to enjoy themselves. They have to play football. They have to adapt to the way we play and all that stuff. Of course, that's important. But it's easy for them. They're quite energetic. They want to run. They want to work. So it fits pretty well.
Just finally, a word on Stephen Darby. We saw brilliant pictures from Melwood with the Stephen Darby baby chant as well. It's a special occasion today, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is, absolutely. And I met Steve Darby once on the James Milner Foundation night. So, and it's a heartbreaking story. So it's like this. And the message is actually, if you play 1 time for Liverpool or 400 times, doesn't make a difference. You played for Liverpool, so that means we will never forget you. And that's why we are here. That's why we are doing it. And I met Steve now in the stadium already. He's very thankful for that, and he looks good. Obviously, all good in the moment. And yeah, let's make sure that will stay like this. And that's why we are here. We want to help. We really want to help. And obviously, here is his club as well, where he stayed most time for his career. And it's playing football for the best reason in the world.
Appreciate your time today. Thank you.
You might have noticed the youngsters in the back of the shot there gave absolute mobbing of Jurgen Klopp straight after that. Is one of the things he has to think about before that first game of the season against Norwich, Stephen, who starts at centre-half alongside Virgil van Dijk, and how can Dejan Lovren push himself into being the option?
Well, there's 3 positions, there's 3 people vying for the 1 position. You've got Matip, Lovren and Gomez all wanting to play alongside Van Dijk. It's a problem that you want as a manager. It's not what you want as a player, because you're thinking this is going to be tough to out them and get them out the team. But the other problem that he's got is the position up front. Looks like Mane won't play the first game of the season if they reach the final. Looks like he'll miss that first weekend of the season. So there's places up for grabs up front, whether that's Harry Wilson or Brewster coming into it. And obviously you've got Shaqiri as well.
Do you get the sense, Jay, when you have a manager that carries on from one season to the next, that he has last season in the back of his mind? And what I mean by that is Joel Matip finished the season so strongly. Does he start with the shirt, or is it we get back on the 2nd of July and it's a completely clean slate?
I would have thought he'd have seen it as a clean slate. Obviously, last year was last year. It was an outstanding season. You can't take that away from him. He done very well. He stepped in and took that role for himself and proved that he was well worth the shirt. As you said, coming back into pre-season, I do feel as if it's a bit of a clean slate. Like Steve said, there's 3 lads fighting for that 1 position, and it's for theirs to grab. You know, Virgil's going to be cemented because he is just outstanding. He's been unbelievable throughout the season, and do you know what I mean? And he has to play, so it's whoever plays alongside him. It's a clean slate, and they've all got that chance to prove to the manager, listen, I want that position, I want that shirt.
Let's talk about your specialist position in left back, Stephen. He's got 2 young lads playing in midfield, Larouci and Lewis, in pre-season. A lot of what we heard straight after the Champions League final was, well, one of the things with Moreno leaving is that you need a backup left back. Is there a chance that these 2 can state a case and say, look, one of us 2 alongside James Milner, who can play every position you want him to, could be enough?
Yeah, definitely. I think you saw from the other night Larouci's performance. Yes, he's going to struggle at times defensively. I thought he did very well defensively the other night, though. And I'm going back to the Youth Cup final of last season, where he got caught out a couple of times. But going forward, there's no doubt in his quality and his ability to drive past players. He's dynamic, he's quick. I think he'll only get better. And then you look at Lewis's performance in the second half. His delivery is fantastic. First time crosses into the box all the time. You know, as a striker, if he's going first time, you can make that run, you can get in the box early doors. So it's a good problem for Jurgen Klopp. It's a nice one to have. but there's only one game down. You've got to prove it now over the next 7 games. Stay in the manager's plans for as long as you can.
Just staying with those fullbacks, you see something of the modern fullback of Trent Alexander-Arnold and Andy Robertson in both of them. Larouci sort of flies forward as Trent does, and the delivery from the Lewis left foot is very similar to someone like an Andy Robertson.
Yeah, definitely, and I think you've got to look at them players. We're blessed that at Liverpool we've probably got 2 of the best attacking fullbacks in world football, so why not look at them, why not try and emulate them and try and get in the team? You can go far wrong by watching them two. I mean, they're superb, the 2 that we've got at the moment, but you have to have that belief that you can dislodge them.
What about the forward areas then, Jay? Ryan Kent and Harry Wilson both coming back from successful loan spells last season. What's your mindset as a player when you come back from being in another team, and we know Jurgen Klopp would have been watching them week by week, but when you're back in the Liverpool setup?
I'd say that they've gone away and they've proven that they can handle it at the level that they went to. Obviously, Harry's had a fantastic year with Derby, got to the playoffs and unluckily missed out. Ryan's gone up to Scotland and done it in front of Stevie and shown that he ran that league and had a great season. Again, whatever position it is, I feel as if whether you come back and had a successful year, he will know that you've had a successful year, but it's another clean slate for them to all prove up points. Steve's mentioned it again, Mane doesn't look like he's going to be back for that first weekend, so the gaffer's going to have a bit of a dilemma to pick who's going to fill that spot. And like you said, like all this pre-season now is a dilemma for them to put a manager to think, oh God, I'm going to have to pick one of these to fill in a spot for me.
And how encouraged were you by Ryan Brewster on Thursday night?
Yeah, very. I mean, I've not really seen that much of him. I've seen sort of clips of him, but he just comes to life in the box. I thought the other night, though, against the 2 centre-halves, Tranmere, he's big, he's strong. They wanted to bully him. He wasn't up for that. He didn't want that. He thought, no, I'll have a bit of this. I'm quite happy to get me body in, fight for me position. Mixed his game up really well. Went in behind when he had to. Came short. Linked up very well for Nathaniel Klein's first goal. And the first goal of the night. And I just thought his overall performance gave Jurgen Klopp, even though he knew he was a good player, he's put another seed in his mind to say, yeah, I want to stay here, and I've got enough to stay here.
The great thing about being a young forward, I guess, Jay, if you're a young man and you come into a poor team, you're scrabbling around, you might get one chance, whereas if Brewster comes in, and no matter who he's alongside, whether it's Salah, Origi, Mane, whoever, you're going to get chances to score.
You'll have chances of fun, and they say Salah, Firmino, Bobby, even the midfielders, like Ox is nice, like a new signing. Ox, he'll create chances, and like you say, coming to a side who creates so many chances in the game, he's going to feel like he's on gold, man, and his finishing, in and around the box, and when the way he comes alive and he can put the ball in the back of the net it's outstanding.
Well, another opportunity for Ryan Brewster in the first 45 minutes this afternoon, but as we've already mentioned, today is very much about one man who used to play for Liverpool and for Bradford. This is the Stephen Darby story.
I'm Matthew Buck and I'm a trustee of the Derby Rim M&D Foundation. I've been Stephen's agent representative since he was 17, winning youth cups at Liverpool, so I've known Stephen a long time. Stephen was diagnosed in the September of 2018 with motor neuron disease, but his symptoms actually began probably in the January of 2017, and he kind of fought it quite quietly in private. He was having treatment for it, but at the time obviously there was nothing to sort of surmise that he'd end up being diagnosed with motor neuron disease. Progressively it got worse, some of the symptoms got worse, and I think he found football, sort of day-to-day training, football more and more difficult from a physical perspective. And then I think it was probably early August of 2018, he contacted me and said that, that was kind of not his last day as such in his mind, but it was the last day he could actually go into training. And then he was diagnosed, I think it was on the 13th September, I remember the day. And life changed really then from that point on. He had to retire within the 24 hours, and the difficult conversations with his family and his friends, it sort of went from there. He had hundreds and hundreds of messages of support. People reached out from everywhere, you know, like say the former clubs, you know, whether it was Bradford or Liverpool, you know, everybody came and supported him, and he said, I had this wonderful support, but what happens if I'm 29 and I'm a manual worker with no family? He said, what does that look like, was his analogy of it, and it's like he couldn't come to terms really with an average person who wasn't in the public domain, who wasn't a professional athlete, how they would cope in the same situation. And what he wanted to do, and this was the premise of the foundation, was that I want to create something whereby somebody younger maybe who gets MND, we can create something that gives them that support. A family friend reached out and introduced them together. Chris was a former soldier in the British Army. Chris's attitude was hugely positive. It wasn't sit back and accept, it was let's find a way to attack it, let's find a way to find a cure for the disease. And that kind of inspired Stephen, and they became close very, very quickly. They realised that they were stronger together, and that was a force for them being together. They could both fight the illness via a foundation. So it's partly to find the reasons why and to help find a cure, and it's partly to have a network of support for anybody that's going through what they're going through, because obviously them being so young when they've both been diagnosed with motor neuron disease. We're waiting on the Charity Commission, but we know that the foundation will be up and running over the next few weeks, but obviously the fundraising can't wait, and Bradford were keen to support Stephen whichever way they could. They talked about a charity game, but then they also talked about the possibility of bringing Liverpool to Valley Parade in the pre-season. Liverpool mirrored what Bradford did. They wanted to support Stephen whichever way they could. So have the game where the club he started at and the club he supports against the club where he probably had the biggest impact as a player. And yeah, like Stephen, couldn't thank them enough, you know, the support that they've given, and it'll be an emotional day, I'm sure. And Chris is ironically a Liverpool fan, so for both of them to be able to have a full sellout at Valley Parade is a huge honour for him and a privilege. But again, to him, it's the most important thing is that he can raise awareness of the illness, raise funds then to support the people that, like he said, he wouldn't have had the same support if he wasn't a footballer. So again, it's Stephen and Chris really want to make sure that they have an impact against motor neuron disease.
Yeah, not easy to watch, but as you saw from that VT, one of the key things is trying to raise awareness of what motor neuron disease is. There's also been an attempt to raise awareness of this game on social media. Part of that is a bit of sing-song, and Stephen Warnock nominated his good mate James Milner, who had a little bit of help from some people at Melwood.
Stephen Darby, baby! Stephen Darby, oh! Stephen Darby, baby! Stephen Darby, oh!
How would you rate your mate's singing voice?
It wasn't bad, was it? I think it was Jordan Henderson's scarf waving and knocking Trent in the face a few times.
Just screams stag do ever so slightly, doesn't it?
Yeah.
What's the end
Brilliant,
of it?
wasn't it?
That stag do. But I mean, that is the most important thing, is that it's not one of those. We know all about cancer, we know what it does, we know how it affects people, but motor neuron disease is very different to that.
Yeah, it is, and I think when you've got the power of social media to try and use it, I think that was the biggest thing for me. Was I think James Mason was the first one, who's the ex-chief exec at Bradford. He started the actual chant and said, we need to get this going, we need to try and make awareness, ready for the game, people understand what it's about. And when you've got people like James doing it, and you've got other celebrities trying to join in, Jay up the big one in Blackpool. And, but it's about sort of coming out your comfort zone and making a fool of yourself for 10 minutes to people, or 5 minutes, whatever it might be, for people to look at the video and understand what you're doing it for.
Just in terms of the wider point, I mean, we were speaking off air about how you like a challenge as a player with what you've been through at Bolton, what you've been through at Blackpool, and I know when you're in that as a player it probably seems terrible, but this is a real struggle, or this will become a real struggle, and it's great to see the game come together and try and do something about it, or try and do something to help. Yeah,
like I said at the start of the show, it's to see the reaction that he's got from the football world and the backing that he's got to support. This is just a start, like I say, to sell out crowd, 25,000 fans of Bradford of Liverpool, all backing him. Like Steve said, all stuff to do with the online and his Instagram and Twitter, and if we can just get that little bit of awareness and a little bit of backing to support it and try and kick it on and get the awareness and try and save lives. And it is a tough disease. It's not going to be nice. We sat down with Steve and he explained exactly what will come. That again was a very difficult evening over some food, and it was a tough thing to hear your mate say that things aren't going to go that way and they're going to go this way, and it was difficult, but he took it, and him and Steph have been outstanding for each other. His family have been outstanding, and the support and the network he has and the support he has around him especially, it's second to none.
It's one of the things that always seems to strike you about those that are right in the eye of the storm, if you like, that Stephen, you were just talking about, and I remember very much the same with Stilian Petrov. Everyone else was incredibly upset, and I'm sure they have their moments, both of them, but they seem so strong in the middle of it.
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, to have that strength and resilience, I think it's incredible, but he's the man himself.
We were supposed to seamlessly walk him in, Stephen, whilst the pitches are going on, but we can say a very good afternoon to Stephen Darby. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Really excited about the day, and just so overwhelmed and by the support from both Bradford, Liverpool and all the fans.
Yeah, what about this? A full house here at Valley Parade for your foundation, and I know that you won't think it's about you specifically, but about what you're trying to do in terms of this illness.
It's incredible, but it doesn't surprise me with both sets of supporters. As I say, it's been so overwhelming, and just by being here today, such a special day, this is going to allow the foundation to do some incredible things, to raise awareness, to help individuals and families who are living with MND, and most importantly to donate money towards research, so to help us in our quest to find a cure.
Talks about how overwhelming it is today, but give me a sense of what you've had from the football family right throughout the point from where you said, I've got motor neuron disease, I'm going to have to stop playing football.
Yeah, I think we've seen the best of football over the last 8-9 months. As soon as I was diagnosed, football fans from across the country and were so quick to give their support, and I say the support has been really overwhelming, and from the bottom of my heart and from the bottom of the foundation's heart, we can't thank everyone enough, because without that support we wouldn't be here.
I think we've mentioned it a few times over the past minutes or so that it's not something that lots of people know lots about, so can you give us a little bit of a sense of what it's like to live with motor neuron disease?
Well, it was one of the main things to set the foundation up, because myself, I didn't really know too much about it, and I think that's the case for a lot of people. Unfortunately, the joint foundation with Rimmer, he's quite far down with the disease, and it obviously affects your muscle strength, makes your muscles go weak, your arms, your legs, so you can't walk or move your arms. It eventually affects your speech, your swallowing, and obviously in the last few months it obviously affects your breathing, and it really is a horrific disease. But since the diagnosis, we're trying to do something positive, and we're going to attack this disease and do everything we can, and that starts here today.
The boys have spoken about it a little bit, about you and how it's been since you told them, and particularly Jay, so I'm going to give Jay the opportunity in front of you now just to embarrass you a little bit, but just how proud have you been of the way he's faced it, your mate?
Unbelievable. It's hard for me to talk, especially with him being in front of me now. He's been outstanding. He's worried about everybody else apart from himself. He wants to help other people. He's one of the nicest guys you will ever. I don't think I've ever heard one person say a bad word about him. He's probably looking at me now thinking, but no, he's second to none. And listen, he will never change. He's still Darbs. He's still that lad that I grew up with since the age of 9. He'll always be Darbs to me and our closest friends. And you know what I mean. And we'll cherish every single moment that we have going forward together. And we look forward to it. We've got a lot of exciting times ahead and a lot of difficult times. But I'll be by his side, fighting it every single way.
And the other thing he said to me earlier, still striking it nicely on the golf course.
I'm trying to, yeah.
He was telling me how annoying it is because everyone goes straight down the fairway.
He's the only one who plays better and his handicap doesn't come down.
Tell me about the life at the moment, because you're still able to live pretty similar to how it was before, and obviously a busy summer with Steph and what it was like watching her over at the World Cup.
It It was brilliant. I was so proud of Steph and everything that she's been through over the past 2.5 years. It's been really tough for her, but no, she's been my rock and she's been unbelievable. I think you mentioned about how I'm doing. I'm actually quite fortunate that I've actually had it for about 2.5 years, but it took 18 months to diagnose, so that was quite difficult in itself. People with the disease, they could get diagnosed and within 4, 5, 6 months it's tragic. So this is why we're doing this today, and this is why we can't thank everyone enough who's supporting the foundation and who's contributing. It really means the world to not just myself and Rimmer, but everyone who's living with MND.
And just give us finally a bit of a sense of what the funds raised will do in terms of how you pump that back into the foundation.
Well, as you mentioned before, awareness is massive, so just by doing this today, and obviously Jay and Blackpool who were doing the Stephen Darby challenge in Liverpool, and that will create a lot of awareness. Secondly, we want to help individuals and families who are living with MND. I'm fortunate where I've had the support network from my wife and the family and friends, and also the football clubs, where I can imagine some people go through it and they might not have that many around them, so we'll support the families, and as I said before, to donate money towards research to hopefully eventually try and find a cure.
Thank you so much for coming to talk to us. I know you're a busy man today, you've got speeches on the pitch and all sorts of people waiting to see you, so thank you very much indeed, and keep up the good work.
No, thanks very much to you.
Stephen, thank you very much. And let's just have a quick look at the two teams while Stephen makes his exit here. Of course, Liverpool playing two teams. We'll just show you the first 45-minute team. Initially with Simon Mignolet keeping goal, a back four of Klein, Lovren, Phillips and Larouci. Midfield three All-England internationals, Oxlade, Chamberlain, Milner and Adam Lallana, with the front three youngsters, Harry Wilson, Ryan Brewster and Ryan Kent. What about Bradford then, newly of League Two after being relegated last season and managed by Gary Bowyer? Richard O'Donnell will keep goal for them, a back four of Henley, Miller, Richards, Everton and Longbridge, a midfield five, bit of experience in there through Sean Scannell and Hope Akpan alongside Palmer, Gibson and Patrick, with the former Everton and Leicester City forward James Vaughan leading the line this afternoon. Plenty of experience for James Vaughan, plenty of inexperience for Curtis Jones, who's been speaking to Samashu.
Curtis, we'll come on to today's game shortly. First of all, let's have a quick look back to Thursday. You getting on the score sheet, you must have really enjoyed that one.
Yeah, it was a great game. The team played well, you know. For the first half, team was very well. So we went out there in the second half and we tried to do exactly the same. And I was happy to get on the score sheet.
Today poses a similar threat really in terms of the level of the opposition. Okay, Bradford are in League Two, but still we're looking at playing in front of 25,000 here as well. You must really relish these times.
Yeah, definitely. You know, I'm used to playing in front of less than 200 people, so to come out here and play in front of thousands, you know, it's a great experience for me. But for me, it's all about just going out there and just showing what I'm capable of doing, and getting on the ball and showing what I'm good at and catching the eye of the people that I need to. And today I'll be going up there and trying to do the same.
Just elaborate on that then, because as you sort of alluded to there yourself, it's a big opportunity for you, isn't it? So when you look at these games, what are you thinking?
Just going out there and impressing and trying to show that I'm good enough to be counted on in the big season that's coming up. And it's also about going out there and getting your fitness up to scratch and getting on mark with the players that are counted on every single week. So for me, just a great experience, and just to go out there and just show what I'm capable of doing, and as a bonus, I'm getting my fitness up.
Very best of luck today. Enjoy it.
Thank you very much.
Curtis with Samashu and the Bradford City players just making their way off the field. Behind us, Liverpool have already headed to the changing room. Curtis Jones, Stephen, we've watched him in a couple of academy games last season. I remember you saying a couple of times you really want to see him grab games by the scruff of the neck, not float in and out, but really have an impact the right way through.
He's such a talented player. Nice to see him get a goal the other night as well, so he's getting himself in that advanced position. I just think this is a big season for him now, whether he stays here, pushes himself into the first team reckoning, or he goes out on loan. But there's no doubt in his ability. He can just glide past players and he's a game changer.
What would you want to do at that sort of age, Jay, as a midfielder? Would you now see an opportunity to go out on loan and go and get some games under your belt?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, as I say, if he comes towards the end of this pre-season time and doesn't feel as if he's going to get the game time he deserves, it might be that moment where he thinks, listen, I need to go get some experience. It's not to say he's not going to be part of the Liverpool squad going forward. It's just to learn the game, learn what he's about, learn what he can deal with and what he can't deal with, and it'll make him become a man more than anything, and it'll put him in good stead coming back maybe the following year to kick on and put more pressure on the lads who are here now.
Let's have a quick word about the opposition then. Bradford City, you played here. I mean, look at the size of the ground. League Two club, Bradford City.
I know. I mean, it's had its tough times off the pitch and the play.
Crumbled when you left, Stephen.
It did, sadly. No, but it's one of them situations. Owners come in. It's not run the way it should be. The fans are disgruntled. They don't agree with the owners, and it pulls onto the pitch. I think now that the ownership's been taken care of, they know what they're doing. Gary Bowyer's come in, a very experienced manager, a good manager. Jay's playing for him. I think there'll be a good turnout of today. I think there'll be a good turnout for the season. I expect them to bounce back.
Just a word on Gary. We're talking about you earlier, loving a challenge. He's exactly the same, hasn't he? He doesn't do easy management jobs.
No, he loves to mix it up a bit as well. And as I say, I get on very well with him. I followed him. I went to Adam Thursday at Blackburn. Then obviously got in touch and followed him to Blackpool. And you know what? He's an outstanding manager.
And you were chatting to him then.
And I was chatting to him before as well. Not saying nothing's going on there, but you know what it is. Listen, he's an unbelievable guy, and he's come here. He knows what the stature of the club is, and he'll take this club forward.
All right, thanks, boys. Kick off on the way. Just time to give you the result of our poll. We asked you who's going to get more assists in the 2019-20 season. 65% to Trent Alexander-Arnold and 35% to Andy Robertson. Both of them, I'm sure, are watching on today, and the action is live after a short break.